We are seeing a world that is full of ethnocentrism, tribalism, racism, bigotry, a world where there's social and economic injustice, a world of ecological devastation, a world with climate change, a world with mechanized death and weapons of mass destruction, a world where cyber warfare could destroy us. It's not that human beings have not been like this throughout the ages, but today we have modern capacities. We have technology. Technology by itself is neutral. What we do with it depends on our evolution as a human species. And if our psychological, emotional, and spiritual evolution does not keep up with our technological evolution, then we are indeed doomed. The last extinction, by the way, was 65 million years ago, when a meteorite fell on planet Earth and wiped out dinosaurs, and we were the product. But the next extinction, if it happens, will be human. And perhaps then the universe will have decided that the human species was an interesting experiment that did not work. Hope is the knowingness that our conscious choices today can change our future history. God's language is silence. Everything else is poor translation. So thank you for indulging me in my poor translation. This is Deepak, and I'm continuing to offer my participation in conflict resolution as the specter of war around Ukraine looms, and as the same conflict is prevalent in different parts of the world. I offer this with respect and humility, and since no one took up my offer, I shall start sharing some techniques with you. So, let's start. Number one, treat your adversary with respect, no matter what, otherwise there's no starting point. Number two, recognize that there is the perception of injustice on both sides, otherwise there's no conflict. Number three, be ready to forgive and also...
Hello friends, this is Stephen Paul, aka Brother Stephen, from the World Shift Movement meetup in Vancouver and worldshift.village.com. You've just seen a couple of slides on the general idea of a new Earth evolution, and you've been listening to Deepak Chopra talking about world problems and the kind of components and processes that we have to look at in integrating new ideas and the solutions into a new Earth. What I'm proposing is essentially a conference and a constant web channel, which might be called World Shift Village as a social network, to bring together the billionaires, millionaires, and leaders and philosophers of the new Earth to define what it is that humanity should do. Right? What is it we can come together on to design a more hopeful, collaborative future for humanity and the Earth? We all know the state of the world. Right? We are in the middle of the sixth extinction. We're destroying more species than has ever happened on the planet. What does that mean? That humanity is next? That very well could be the case. But during all the crisis in our world and the corona process that we've been through in 2 years, what is happening is millions of people and humanity are currently going through a massive process of global awakening. into a new era. And we're collectively coming together to define what that is as the old era is falling. David Hawkins suggests man is undergoing evolution. First we came into the planet as Homo erectus, then we became Homo sapiens, and now we're evolving into Homo spiritus, which is a spiritual consciousness evolution that we're beginning to understand. And so this brings up the question, who is humanity? Who are we? Where did we come from? What is our evolution? What is our destiny? And if you go into the ancient texts, the Deepak knows, into the higher yogas and Buddhism, you can see that essentially, we're a spiritual being. We're travelers. We come from higher dimensions. We may come from the central part of the universe, and we, choose to take on experiences in worlds, okay? And we decided to incarnate in this world, and we were told the risks, that this is the lower world in the third dimension, and we could be interfered with. We would have the veil of forgetfulness. We wouldn't remember who we are. We were told we'd have karma, that which we created would come back to us to experience. And we were also told that we'd be fooled around with. There would be entities, possibly extraterrestrials, and shadow beings that really don't want us to be here and to evolve, because their role in the cosmic evolution in the lower worlds is to essentially keep it the same, okay? So we've been through a lot, humanity, for what is known in metaphysics as millions of years, okay? Now, if you look at futurists like our friend John Peterson, he's essentially suggesting that we're in a transition to a new world, a new planetary reality. Some people call this that we have to reach the type 1 civilization, which is an integral civilization at its early stages that manages its energy everywhere and can completely manage the planet. This makes a lot of sense, okay? That we have to reach the type 1 state, which is the Kardashev scale of civilization, and then we'll become a planetary, integral civilization. We'll have harmonious economies. We'll have a greater justice system. We'll have a education for all, a system for the whole world. We'll break out of the need to have weapons of mass destruction and war. And so we're clearly coming into this meta-society that we need to understand and define how do we get there. At the World Shift Movement, we are suggesting the youth of the world is crucial. There's 1.5 billion youth in the world, 15 to 25, and they're looking to bring forth a new earth, okay? So it's very possible that hundreds of millions could come together in a movement, in villages, in a social network, to get down to the brass tacks of what we have to do to essentially bring forth a higher, a collective and integral consciousness in the world. You look at the Hopi elders, they said that, we're coming into this crisis, and that our past evolution has been material, but our new evolution is about consciousness, okay? We are all seeing the facts of global corruption in our world. These are consciousness things. We need to look at it more, and we need to have systems that transform this in our world. So economies run better, energy and agriculture and food. So these crises don't disrupt the whole nature of our world evolution. This is a snapshot from Jean Richard's wonderful book, High Noon, 20 Global Problems, 20 Years to Solve Them, the former vice president of the World Bank in Europe. It's a fascinating book. I helped a little bit on this when it came out 10, 15 years ago. that we're entering into this level of diminishing room to maneuver. We can't maneuver around these problems. We don't have the systems. And it's not just money. We need movements. We need an awakening revolution in localization and self-government. We're going to head into a dystopian world. And it's suggested that we may not get out of significant world problems unless we start looking at the solutions for them. But clearly millions of people and humanity and the earth are currently going through a massive process of global awakening and initiation as a new earth is transforming the old consciousness and dismantling the old era so the new can come forth. The old has to fall, not all of it, so we can come into what the new is, okay? If we look at quantum physics, we know that consciousness is malleable, so things are changing. We don't have. It's not a terrifying future that we're heading into. It's challenging, but it's malleable if we can come together. Okay, it's flexible. Okay, we are kind of like baby chicks, plucking out of the egg and coming into this new consciousness evolution that can become worldwide. So we're on this hero's journey, okay? Where humanity and society are now on this journey of the hero, realizing what is fundamentally a new planetary reality emerging worldwide in as soon as 10 to 15 years, okay? This is the hero's journey, and it's a return to the personal and planetary self, where all of humanity has an understanding in a universal sense of who we are, where we came from. What is our evolution within us and our own consciousness, and where can that consciousness evolve, even beyond the physical plane, you see. And so the question is, how would you view this new planetary evolution? And that's what we're setting up here, is this kind of collective process to bring the wealthy and the scholars and people, not just ideas. What is this new Earth evolution, and what are the projects, and how do they move forward? Okay, how would you view a new planetary evolution? We're beginning to see very clearly that it's looking that we may already be in a highly evolved universe. Okay, a highly evolved, multi-dimensional universe. We have constant sightings of ships coming in and out of our planet, and you see the space station. They're coming right up to the space station. I encourage you to look at the website, peaceroom.com. This is Commander C.B. Scott, which is a fascinating website on how a peaceful development can happen with our world and interplanetary civilizations. This may be key to our future if you look at that these civilizations could be much older than we are, and they have been through the processes that we've been through. They very well could help us, okay? And they're quite possibly highly evolved and peaceful already, and are willing to help us if we come forth with that approach, okay? So we have to kind of look at the dialectic era is closing, and what do? We have to gather the awakening people together and the youth of the world as the old era falls for a peaceful awakening and organizing of the new earth and the world shift, okay? We're awakening the anima mundi, okay? This is essentially the world soul, okay? It is the world soul that will bring forth the new personal and planetary evolution, okay? And so you have to ask yourself, what's the tipping point? Well, it's our collective consciousness. We can see what collective consciousness is doing, okay? You can see the trucker situation, how vast that became, and how their message got through, and is extremely peaceful. Okay, this is an example of mass consciousness. Okay, and so what is your worldview? You know, is it just theology? Is it science? Is it just money? Is it personal wealth? Is it, what is your worldview? It doesn't matter who you are. You're a human being. You're involved in a process of consciousness. Well, what is that? Okay? Is your worldview just politics, money, and winning, or two powers, or is there just God and evil? Our worldviews are changing. We're in a world transformation of worldviews, okay? And more we're beginning to see that we're living in a cosmic universe, okay? And there is a cosmic process of consciousness evolution that a human being can get involved in, okay? We may be waking up from Plato's cave. If you go into that allegory of Plato's cave, essentially we've been sitting in front of the television for 80 years, just watching it, now the internet, but we're awakening to, who we are. What is the universe? What is the earth? What is the nature of reality, okay? So what is the thing that you can do every day to help humanity and the earth in extraordinary ways? It's very simple, and that is to welcome the divine and the omnipresence back into the world. Okay. For those of you out there who have studied consciousness and metaphysics, it's nice to see that generally we're seeing more and more that people are awakening in their consciousness and meditation experiences, that in reality we may live in a universe where there is only the omnipresence. There are no two powers or any power really outside of the omnipresence. There are beings of free will, as we are in this dimension, and other dimensions that may have free will that affect us. But essentially there is just a universe of divine order. And you can see this in the cycles of nature, the Fibonacci spiral, and the nature of the natural systems of the world. Okay, we're the only ones that can free ourselves, and so we have to come together, and that's what we're proposing here, is an ongoing event on consciousness and the new earth, and what are the solutions for the new earth. And how do we define them and fund them? We're entering into a massive epochal galactic cycle. As we wind down the old cycle, we are coming into a cycle of connecting with the star systems of the universe, which is a new 25,000 year cycle that's just beginning, you see. And we can see this. It was told us in the crop circles, you see. This is coming, okay? And that we may be moving into this world into a dimensional change, which is clearly happening. I've had many experiences, and millions of people are having these experiences. If you can see here, these are the dimensions of our world. We're in the third dimension, the physical dimension. But there's a subtle dimension called the fourth dimension, or the astral. And there's a higher light dimension, is the fifth dimension, okay? And a higher dimension than that, which is the sixth dimension, where advanced spiritual beings evolve, which we call masters and light beings and angels. And there's even a seventh, and it goes right up to the ninth dimension, where Bodhisattvas and Tathagata and very wise beings move into. So we are a multi-dimensional being, okay? The secret to evolution outside of the material is the multi-body evolution, okay? And any millionaire or billionaire that's looking at this that wants to sponsor aspects of the world shift movement and this consciousness community on the new earth, I will personally teach them how to activate the luminous body of light. Okay? Because this is why we are here. Okay? This is a revolution that's simple, that anyone can begin to practice. And when you've had one or more experiences in the light body, you begin to go, oh my God, this is who I am. Wasn't that a fascinating experience? Okay? And it can happen in the sleep state, and it's happening to people all over the world. So we are evolving in consciousness. It's a multi-body evolution. We have a vast unknown cosmic history that we are going to begin to understand, you see. What's our challenge? Okay, are we fallen angels? Are we luminous immortals in a schoolroom for God? It's looking more and more that we may just be a microcosm of the omnipresence in training to evolve to be co-creators within the multiverse itself, you see. And clearly in the past, these avatars came to show us this. Buddha, okay? And there's Jesus, Lord Jesus, who demonstrated the abilities of an advanced cosmic being, okay? And he said more than once, the Father and I are one, okay? Well, it really could be that we are all one with the omnipresence. And the Christ or the Buddha consciousness is not out there in space. It's inside each one of us to evolve, you see. It's a quality of inner spiritual awakening which really changes your life. It makes an extremely interesting life when you begin to awaken to your multi-body, multi-dimensional evolution. So all these avatars and teachers came in to remind us that we're now on the ascent process. We're in the ascent into a new age, a golden age, okay? And many of these beings came back to remind us. There's many different teachers. They're not just spiritual teachers. There's avatars like Shakespeare and music and political leaders and Gandhi and Paramahansa Yogananda. And it's looking that we have the potential to develop a new body, which is a luminous body, okay? And that we can actually experience the light body and begin to integrate the natures of the crystal light body with the physical body, okay? And here is a white paper. It's the only paper I've found on retrospasms of the engines of human bodily transformation. A biologist went to India and China to study lamas and yogis who spent decades in inner work. I've spent decades in the higher pranic work, and he's suggesting in this paper that extensions to the DNA develop which create new human abilities, okay? And the ability to have out-of-body experience a light body. And this is what this biologist studied, okay? It's a fascinating paper. It's right on the web, Retrospasms as Engines of Human Bodily Transformation. It's the biological study of spiritual adepts, you see. And so a new evolution is coming for everyone interested in consciousness that's available to you. And because, we're good at studying things, mechanical engineering and music and quantum mechanics and stuff like this. And so this is the consciousness field is really just moving into a new level, and we need to study it and develop systems that essentially can be expanded all over the world. Clearly, as Einstein said, problems cannot be solved at the same level of awareness that created them. We have to have a new level. We are essentially becoming a spiritual evolution, okay? You see the magnetic spectrum here of light, that our eyes only see a certain spectrum within the physical dimension. And as you meditate, and as you do breath, prana and breath meditation, the frequencies of light expand, and you can actually have experiences that are not just of the third dimension, you see. So the worldview we have is expanding, okay? We're coming into a consciousness and metaphysical worldview, that there's an infinite, permanent, and substantial reality based beyond the physical universe and the realm of the sense experience. And these are realms of dimensions of universal light and love and unity and soul and spiritual evolution. And this is eternal. And so we are coming into an eternal evolution that can free us from the bounds of the life and physicality, which is birth, death, youth, old age, sickness, health, which is duality. So the consciousness process will move us beyond the duality evolution. And but people can choose. Do they want to move up, or do they want to continue on the lessons within the third dimension? So we're in a global tug of war here currently on the planet between the old era, the old systems, and what is the new consciousness. To help us along, these energies come in and dismantle the old, break it down. And this is what's happening all over the world. Shiva is breaking down the old systems so they essentially, don't entirely fall apart, so the new can come in. And these are coming into the planet as rays of light. You can Google the 7 rays of light, and each has a certain quality that is affecting our world. Look at Paul Hawkins' work. Millions of people read this book. Over 1 million organizations in the world. It's called Blessed Unrest. Okay, that over 1 million groups in the world and more and growing are working for a new world, a new planetary evolution. And we can see the protest movements are pretty much consistent and constant all over the world, okay? We have these constant problems: economic, social collapse, political, food prices, failed states, which is a big issue. And so we probably need a world movement to help all these things, okay? What is the underlying process? Well, the divine order of creation is everywhere. We need to study it, okay? Planets have been around billions of years. They don't spin off into the sun because they're living within cosmic laws of a divine order. So we shouldn't really worry as much. People have died, but nobody dies because we are all part of this eternal omnipresence. We're awakening. Humanity is awakening. And we can actually choose our evolution of what we want to do. Do we want to continue on in the physical dimension? Or do we want to move into higher dimensions? Or do we want to experience either advanced worlds? This is all going to be part of our future, okay? We have a light body that we can integrate with. And it's called, and there are systems of practice for this. I teach this at a website called thescienceofascension.com. So we appear to be involved in what you could say is an electromagnetic transformation of our planet and our bodies, okay? We each have a Merkaba, which is a vehicle from our light body that allows us to travel around the universe. I've experienced it a couple of times, okay? So the ambient light of God is coming into our world, breaking things forth and breaking things down to bring forth the new. You can understand this by looking at the 7 rays and the dimensions, okay? So these unseen powers in the universe are connecting humanity online to a new evolution, a new multi-body, a transdimensional evolution in the electromagnetic universe, okay? Why is this happening? Because the higher evolution of order in the universe is assisting us because we're running out of time. Okay? Our civilizations are heading into really big crisis, and we're there now. Okay? And the omnipresent doesn't play dice with things. There's always a process that can come forward. So we are now involved in this adventurous evolution, which is crossing into a grand new cycle where new things will come up, new phenomena, okay? There's 1,000 species in the Mekong forest that came forth, 10 years ago. They go in and, and track them, and they say, well, these are all new species. What is that plant? It eats birds, So maybe the Mother Earth is telling us there's a new Earth coming forth. Work with me, and let's bring it forth together, okay? All of this is essentially communicated in the sacred text, a perennial wisdom, from the Bhagavad Gita to the Nagamati scrolls, and you can see in the Bailey work and Theosophy work, okay? So mankind appears to be going through a massive, collective cosmic evolution now, a new evolution. And we see the Hawaii Star Visitor Sanctuary they're setting up there to welcome the star nations. And here is a slide of a fleet of ships that came by our planet a decade ago. And they're still coming around, okay? Many different ships. The universe is trying to tell us that a new age and a very different era is coming. It's a cosmic era. It's a cosmic evolution where every adult will begin to understand who they are, where we came from, and what is the potential of our evolution, okay? And you can see this in the language of the crop circles, of the butterfly man, and the fleets of ships, okay? And, the chakras lining up here, okay? Here we have the spinning chakras, which are claimed down as crop circles, to describe that we're evolving our chakras, and our multi-body evolution, which is quite possibly transforming our DNA, okay? And here's the crop circles describing the rays that coming into the planet, the electromagnetic energy from the sun that's changing our Earth. So we've reached a fork in the road now, my friends. Where do we want to evolve? Do we want to continue on the duality evolution, or do we want to move into this higher dimensional evolution of light, of unity, of oneness, you see? If we look at the past here, the SOHO satellite years ago saw the comet Neat. It looked like it was going to fly into the sun. If comet Neat had hit the sun, our planet quite possibly would have been finished. The solar flares would have just taken our whole atmosphere out. But suddenly the sun said, what are you doing in my neighborhood? These are my kids. You get out of here. And, Helios, the sun, basically sent this huge flare out and knocked Comet Neat back into the solar system. Okay? 2003, I think. And so that kind of questions, is there an intelligence behind our universe? It really is. It makes you want to think, okay? And so the new worldviews are emerging. Popularity in Eastern philosophies, spiritual practices, environmental movements, the new physics, the Gaia hypothesis, appreciation in indigenous cultures, increasing acceptance and interest in PSI and paranormal activities, alternative medicine, the rise of the goddess, consciousness, mass awakening in the global advocacy and citizens movements, and the growth in cooperatives and social ventures. We actually have 1 billion people working in cooperatives in the world, which is amazing. All over the world, people are feeling a new personal and community evolution happening that we need to encourage more. And we need financing. We need to identify projects in self-government and localization and local villages and things like this. We've got a revolution in natural food and diet, exercise, natural healing, localization. All this needs to be assisted, okay? So extraordinary energies are coming into the world. These are energies of light. Please Google biophotons. You will find several videos on that. I have been tested as someone who radiates biophotons significantly. And the human eye radiates biophotons, but I seem to radiate them. People see light coming from me. And this is probably because of the years of pranic work and integrating with the luminous body of light, okay, which I've done. So we're beings of light. We're not just physical beings, okay? And people have experiences with angels, and that we see them around, and there's new human abilities emerging with children and people. So the new paradigms are bubbling within us. It's kind of like a new operating system that we're all beginning to download, and it's all about consciousness. So on a collective level, futurists are saying we need to shift into the Type 1 civilization, which is a managed planet. This is the Kardashev scale of civilizations. And unless a planet gets to Type 1, this is the theory, and many universities are teaching this, that we won't make it. So we have to reach this Type 1 integral civilization. And once we reach that, we can go to Type 2, which is getting energy from the solar system and the sun and things like this. And Type 3 is even galactic, but we have to get to the Type 1 integral civilization. And this should be, on the minds of every government in the world, in my opinion, okay? So what would these advanced civilizations like to see? They would most likely like to see a universal brotherhood of humanity without distinction, a brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity without distinction of race, creed, sex, caste, or color, that looks at the oneness of humanity, the oneness of all life, okay? So the new era is here, it's coming. We need to define it, what it is, and battery cars, distant education is important, micro-investment, which is one of the most successful investment systems in the world, participatory social economics, the home business revolution, spiritual communities, new rural intentional communities, the cooperatives, sustainable city community models. These are some of the things that are happening, okay? We have, children are developing new abilities. It's a crystal children, indigo children. I've had many experiences with these advanced children. This is a picture of a ray of light coming right out of the forest from the violet ray. These are these new species that emerged in the Mekong forest. They're wondering, well, how did they get there? We didn't see them 10 years ago, So the cosmic law of frequency and vibration is changing the world and the future, and we have to choose what vibration do we want to go on, okay? We're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the one infinite life. And what does this mean to our personal and collective evolution? What does it mean? So we're coming in to this Aquarian age, this water age, okay? the age of the new, the age of the transformation of humanity, where love is at the heart of all life, and love is at the heart of all creation. Okay? And so we're in a galactic awakening of humanity, and Mother Earth is returning to the embrace of God. Mother Earth is moving up dimensionally, and we need to move with her. Okay? So we have the potential to prepare humanity for a golden evolution, which we have to define. You see? It's expanded consciousness, crystal indigo children, the return of a higher cosmic evolution, increasing oneness, the realization of things, that we can control our bodies, we can transform our health, okay? Peace, bliss, understanding that we have an eternal evolution and experience in it, okay? Quantum physics, that we're involved in an eternal evolution, you see? So the mystery of the shift is what this is about, okay? And we're suggesting that we need to bring the billionaires, scholars, and millionaires, and philosophers, and the people of the new earth together to essentially come up with what are the projects that we need to do to bring together a more collective and hopeful evolution for humanity and the earth. This is Stephen Paul, Brother Stephen at the World Shift Movement. Meet up in Vancouver, and you can go to worldshift.village.com. If you want to send me an email, you can send it to Steve at worldshift.village.com. Thank you so much.